So check it out. I was last. Let me see if I can get this to work. You see here? Last. Just dead last. I was the last bridesmaid. I was the last bridesmaid in this very long line of bridesmaids. And, you know, not only was I actually last in line, I was asked last. The bride, we went to high school together. She called me and she's like, Amy, I'm getting married. And I want you to be a part of my big day. This other girl, she got pregnant. She's not going to fit into the dress. So if you could step in, that'd be great. Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, okay. And I mean, you just don't say no to a bride. I've learned this now. I just got married last year. And so I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So I could have been the last bridesmaid, but I kind of wanted to be the favorite bridesmaid. Like, look at how many people I could beat out for that title. It sounded amazing. I was like, I want to be the favorite. But to be the favorite, you really have to make an impression on somebody. And I'm making the impression on someone who is the happiest woman in the world, marrying the man of her dreams. So how do you make somebody feel even more special on the most special day of their life? That was the undertaking that I had. Somehow I came up with the idea for a video. I'd never made a video before. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I happened to find my little Canon PowerShot, these cameras you used to have to take with you on vacation. And it had a video option on it, and I was like, cool. So I took that back to our old neighborhood. I got footage of sort of the school and our neighborhoods. I found friends, teachers, anybody who knew Stephanie. And I just got a little snippet from them and just saying, congratulations, best wishes. You know, this is a new chapter of your life. Just somebody from a previous time wishing her the best. And I took all these clips back to my house and fortunately found that Windows Movie Maker came with my desktop computer, and I was like, well, that's convenient. And that's where I just dropped everything in there and proceeded to make a video and pulled that all together with the, of course, ever emotional backing track of Good Riddance, Time of Your Life by Green Day. And I exported that video onto a DVD. This was 2007. I had no idea YouTube even existed at the time. I'm not sure, maybe you did. I had no idea, so I just thought, well, how am I gonna share this? I gotta put it on a DVD. So I took it to the rehearsal dinner, and I asked for some airtime. And the guys that work at the venue, they're like, what is this girl, the last bridesmaid is asking for some airtime. What does that even mean? They found a tube television somewhere that had a DVD player attached to it, and they wheeled it into that rehearsal dinner. Suddenly it's in front of a room just like this, and we put the DVD in and pressed play. And I tell you, that moment changed the rest of my life. The rest of my life. So, Stephanie, bride, emotional, loving it, crying, as she should. I worked very hard. But that's not what it was. It wasn't Stephanie. It was, of course I'm watching her and I'm like, oh my gosh, is the DVD gonna skip? Like, I'm like nervous, it's playing. And I started to look around the room and everyone in the room was really enjoying it. And I was like, okay, good, it's some entertainment, it makes sense. And then I started to see a few tears. And then I was like, oh, I guess that's Aunt May, like she might be a little connected to this, okay. Well, that's the groom's family. What do they know about our neighborhood and these people on the screen? They don't know. But that's when I realized that I could make something for one person and affect many more. Because I had one person in mind, because I designed that one thing for that one person and I did it just for them, and that is the only person I considered in the entire process, I was still able to affect the many. And to have the emotions of everyone in that room, their emotions were in the palm of my hand because of this little project that I made. Again, designed for one. That changed everything. that changed the rest of my life. I just knew that this was such a special medium to be able to tell a story and make a difference.
Let's talk about more of like the essence and the core of vlogging. So you mentioned personality, and you mentioned vulnerability. And I can just say, speaking from experience, I started vlogging in 2014, and quite frankly, I was awful at vlogging. I felt that I would get on here, I would walk around in public with a camera, it looked very awkward and it didn't feel natural to me. And I felt that I had to over-accentuate my personality to connect with the audience. And I know that's one thing that I hear from other content creators or aspiring content creators is one, how do you get past the fact that your life isn't just interesting all the time? In fact, there's some boring kind of slow periods. So what do I talk about that? So that's one thing that oftentimes I'll hear content creators say to me on platforms like Snapchat or Instagram. So what do you say out there to someone that wants to go all in on YouTube? They see what you do, they see what other vloggers out there are putting out, and they say, you know, I'd love to have a vlog as well, but I'm just not that interesting.
Well, that's super easy to say, but everything you just mentioned, personality is only 5% of this. What we really need to be focused on is talent. And the more you focus on your personality and I don't have anything to talk about and I need to amplify my voice a little bit more and this is not looking right, that's all about you and not about the person watching it. And the only way that you're gonna have video that's effective is by looking at the lens of a camera like it's a human being and actually having a conversation with them like they feel like they're sitting there with you. And that's a completely different game. But if you're so focused on what do I look like, how's my hair, I sound ridiculous, I can't believe I'm listening to myself back, I hate myself. And when you do all of that, it's really hard to have a normal conversation with a person, right? If you can't have a normal conversation with a person, you shouldn't make video. Now, that being said, you have to get past the fact that you're talking to a device that is your vehicle to be the message to get to that person. That's the mindset shift. Once you do that, everything changes.
I see what you did there by looking at the camera, by the way. I like that.
I've done this before.
So when you're vlogging, so those are good points that you bring up. And you know, I like your vlog. How do you decide what goes into that daily vlog and what doesn't?
I think the big thing that people miss the mark on is that it's even easier to say everything is boring because you're trying to include everything.
Okay.
The really great idea in terms of documentation is you can still document but have focus. So what is going to be the takeaway, the moral of this story that is this video? It might be that I'm going about my day. We're documenting this right now for a vlog. This is going to be the story of me presenting at Creative Live. So there are pieces and parts to that that work. I'm probably not going to show you client meetings that took place while I was in San Francisco because that's extra fluff that doesn't really fit into the storyline of what goes into prepping and going on and presenting at Creative Live. So can you pinpoint those things that actually matter for the camera while you're creating your vlog? And then your focus is going to help you be able to be more intentional when you're getting that footage.
Now, do you storyboard what a vlog is going to look like throughout the day?
No.
Okay, so it's very natural.
You have to know what the goal is and maybe why this matters, because if you're still, even if it feels like you're not talking to the camera, you're just kind of showing off what's going on, you're still talking to someone. You're still showing one person something. So what is the thing that you're trying to show them throughout this process? That's what you keep in mind. That's what gives you the focus of what to document and what not to. But that's as much of a storyboard as I pretty much do, because I'm not going to tell the camera what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what I'm doing, and then the camera can just find out as it happens.
One of the things I loved about your talk yesterday is obviously consistency is key. You want to be passionate about what you're talking about, but you specifically talked about editing, right? And how you have to grab people's attention and keep it. Can you give some suggestions to people just starting out? Because you and I both know, there's a lot of vloggers out there that just think we all want to see you brush your teeth.
Yes,
right?
please,
we all
get in
see
there.
You grab that bottle of
Please.
milk out of the thing. And don't get me wrong, there's some people that do that and they get a lot of views, and you're wondering, why can't I do that? Well, there's so many other variables. But what are your quick tips on terms of editing to be able to not only capture people's attention but keep it?
I think to your point, this is basically everyone wanting to go to what they see working and thinking, oh, all I have to do is copy it. But if for some reason I'm watching somebody brush their teeth and I'm into it, there's a bigger reason for that. You're not going to be able to copy that. I think at the beginning, I didn't want to spend a lot of time on editing when I started because I was doing 3 episodes a week. I would film them all on Monday and I would get them edited to go out Tuesday through Thursday. And for me, keeping the eyes moving with editing just meant jump cuts. So in my content for about 3 years, and still lately,
You don't hear me breathe very often. I cut out all the breaks. And I would kind of crop in sometimes and make sort of a dynamic movement, very slightly, that would keep your attention and keep you engaged. I also made sure to deliver the value in less than 5 minutes, significantly less than 5 minutes. When you're first starting, you may think more minutes means more watch time, but if you actually deliver faster, you'll have them watching more videos on your channel, which is more watch time. And they're more impressed by you when you're able to do something really, really fun in a short amount of time. You show them you're not wasting their time.
Yes.
So I say keep it short when you're starting, bang out the content, make it great, and use jump cuts to your advantage because it's totally within the cadence of YouTube. Yeah. It's the perfect thing to describe YouTube a lot of the times. But that's going to be an easy way to edit and keep it interesting.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for bringing that up because a lot of people are watching other successful vloggers, right, and thinking, I need to just duplicate that when they don't understand that. Number one, everybody wants to be a YouTuber, right? Like if you're watching this, you're watching because you want to build your influence, build your income with online video, especially with YouTube, right, on this platform. And the thing is, a lot of the YouTubers that are doing this for a living, make a full-time income or just super successful, they had a lot of practice before they got to this point, right?
Practice.
And right now, people aren't just sitting down sold on you at 0 subscribers.
Right.
You have to like sell yourself onto their interest. Like you have to make sure that they're going to be interested enough to watch that second episode or to subscribe.
Right.
So great advice. Anything else you want to say on that?
No, I think you nailed it. I mean, it's so funny how we think like, oh, YouTube needs to send us views. I'm going to show up and have the most bomb video, but then they don't do a custom thumbnail or they don't take care of their SEO or anything like that. YouTube doesn't owe you anything. You need to show them you bring traction to their platform so they'll share the love with you. Your videos have to be good. Your marketing has to be good. It all has to be good for a long period of time for you to get that back.
I get questions sometimes, and again, I point them to people like you because I'm like, I'm not the video expert, but they're like, do I have to start my YouTube channel first and have that going before I start creating video? Like, so first let's talk about what stops people from getting started, and then let's talk about how they can get started.
The easiest excuse, and I know this is the easiest excuse because I've had a lot of years as a speaker and obviously as like a YouTuber or whatever, it usually spawns from the biggest question that you get. And the biggest question I get, whether it's in the comments or in a line for a Q&A, is what camera do I need? Which I rarely ever even talk about in my presentations. I have in the past, but I'm like, I'm not even going to talk about it because I'm going to make you ask me, because I'm going to sit here and tell you that
Use
it's
your freaking phone.
Okay. So, and that's always like a fun, like laughing moment, right?
Right.
The reality is, you know, I know a lot of people who, let's break it down. Beginning of YouTube, origin of YouTube. Everyone thinks is like, we're like the greatest personalities of the world, which I'll talk about that in just a second as another fear. But they just had their like Macs or their laptops, and they would just talk to a webcam. There's lots of channels that started that way. Your smartphone is the closest, most sophisticated camera you'll ever hold because you know how to operate it. So like that's a big deal, and you should use it. And I always tell people, if you have to wait to buy the gear in order to get started, you're not going to. And I know this as somebody that when I was like, oh my God, I'm going to make YouTube videos. This is before the smartphone. I mean, maybe there was a smartphone, but there was definitely not video like there is today on the smartphone. And I was buying back in the day the handheld video cameras like the Flip and the Kodak ZI6 and all that, all these things that are totally like, what's the word, extinct now.
Yeah.
And I remember I remember meeting iJustine on the YouTubes, and I was like, I like her. I want to do this too. And I bought my video camera and I stuck it in a drawer and I did not use it for 3 months. And that's because I had the thing now, and I knocked down that fear of not having the right gear, which of course, like I still had a digital camera I could have used, but I didn't use it. So I say, use the thing closest to you as soon as possible, and use it so much that you're like, okay, there's too many people texting me while I make this video. I'm done with the smartphone video. Once you've grown out of it, grow out of it, go buy the camera, but prove to yourself you need to. And then back to what I was saying about sort of like this personality thing. There's a fear of that it's very easy to watch me and go, she's a great time. I'm never going to be like that ever. And I understand that, but I've had a lot of experience just like being weird and awkward. I've also had experience just trying to figure out what makes people comfortable and how to talk to people. And it's all been practiced through a camera. And if you think back to these original YouTubers, they weren't personalities. They were not destined for television. They literally had no friends. They were made fun of at school, and they came home and talked to a computer hoping to find life on the internet that was like them. And so I think that this whole conversation about being the right personality is disjointed, because it comes down to, do you know who you're talking to? No matter what you're selling, do you know who you're talking to? And you could be selling nothing, but you have to know that person still for it to leave an impact.
Absolutely.
And you will be able to be just fine the way that you are, because you're just simply conveying your message.
Right. Well, that's, I mean, that's the fundamental of brand that I always talk about, which is if you know, I wrote a book that had 10 questions, but if you even want to break it down more than that, the 3 questions are: who am I talking to? What value do I offer them? And what style do I have to deliver that message? Which is really just your tribe, your value, and your vibe. That's it. Like, if you know the answer to those 3 questions, and you know these people intimately, you have empathy for them. We've talked about this a lot, you and I, about the ideal customer personas. Like, not women between the ages of 25 and 60. It's like, who is Jane? Who is Diane? Who is Amy? And really understanding, in the context of what you sell, what do they need? What do they want? What are they looking for? What questions do they ask? All of that. Like, you can just confidently have that conversation. And like you said, it takes practice. It's not natural for people to have a conversation with a camera.
Right.
So you might not be good at it the first time you try.
Exactly.
So
You know
I
what's so
really love
funny
that you
about
talk
this?
about that.
I just discovered a podcast. I think it changes its name every time it changes who it's talking about. The first 4 or 5 episodes were about Oprah, and it was called Making Oprah. I think now it's called Making Obama or something. But the first episodes are Making Oprah. And I was like screaming. I thought us marketers came up with this idea of naming our avatar. They had a name for Oprah's like audience. It was Susie. So it was always like, how does this affect Susie? What is she thinking? Does she actually care about this? What is the point of this? So every time they made a show, which is a ruling thing 5 days a week, they could always keep that person in mind. And it's so important. If you just know who you're talking to, you know how to be. Like, your personality. Like, ideally it's you, but I might talk about marketing differently to Maria than I would to my grandmother. And it's just knowing who it is.
I love that. I love that.
Today we're talking about the 7 habits of highly successful vloggers. So if you're trying to be one, you better start taking some notes. Number 1, they stay true to their tribe. They remember why people subscribed in the first place, and they stick with that mission, even if the content morphs over time. Number 2, equipment never holds them back. If something's going on, they're gonna find the nearest camera no matter what it is. Okay, maybe nothing standard definition, but still, your phone, good enough. Number 3, they turn the camera on when something is happening, or they make something happen. If you've got to get your message out there, sometimes it may not seem like the most vlog-worthy day, but you have to make it so. You've got to make the content, so create the opportunity, don't wait for it. Number 4, they don't sit around and worry about competition. They get up and move because they believe in collaboration. If anyone out there seems like they might do something similar to you, instead of thinking that you're up against each other, work together, spread the love, and get your audiences to respect both of you. It is by far the best and most organic way to grow on any platform, but especially YouTube. Number 5, they follow their formula. No matter what your content is going to be, they know how to start, engage, and end a video every single time, especially with the things that align directly with their brand. Don't run away from the things that have made you successful, included in your formula, and then mix things up in between. Number 6, they listen, both in their analytics and in their comments section. Analytics will tell you a lot about what your audience thinks about your content, but you can hear it from them even more directly when you actually pay attention to the comments. Write people back, read what people say. The good, the bad, and the ugly. There might be some ugly stuff in there, but you are a creator and what you're doing is amazing. So don't let the negative get to you, because some of it is actually meant from people that care so much about your brand that they're trying to make you better. But the good stuff definitely helps, so read a lot of that too. And number 7, they never stop
learning. You can never stop educating yourself on how you can get better at your craft, no matter how many subscribers or views or anything that you have. You can always be better when you continue to educate yourself to get better. Stop getting comfortable whenever it feels good. Probably means you're falling behind. Instead of talking about the thing, I'm showing the thing. So I could tell you how to make good videos, but I've done that for a long time. And I have lots of resources to help you with that. Books, products, keynote speeches, a podcast, every video I've pretty much ever made on this channel. And now I think it's time to show to tell. I want to show you how great video is made when that opportunity arises on my channel, or how pretty darn good video is made in order for you to go after the life you want. And I think that's something that people are having a really hard time understanding. For me, I think that the most amazing people show you what they are good at. They don't just tell you. Because if you're really good at something, somebody else is going to tell you that you are. I remember when I was getting no views on my YouTube channel, and I was starting to meet people in the industry and different industries, not like just YouTube, just like lots of different industries, the tech industry, the marketing industry, all the industries. And people were saying, oh, cool, you make videos, whatever. And they would look at my channel and be like a couple of views, and they never really watch. And then the day would come when they would finally watch a video, and they're like, Amy, you're really good at this. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, when you don't have a lot of views, you don't have that validation right off the bat. You just have to keep doing the best that you can. There was a time when that was true for me. I just had to keep doing the best that I could. I didn't have a whole lot of validation that what I was doing was right or good. I just had to keep trying. And then eventually people kind of like got on board with it and said, no, Amy, this is really good. And I'm like, oh, cool. And so I kept going, and so I kept going, and so I kept going. And I also knew that that perspective was not coming from a place of just like saying it. This wasn't like mom. This wasn't like a friend that was like, oh my God, this is so cute that you're doing this. We're really confused. But no, it was somebody that didn't have to tell me. It were people that didn't have to tell me that I was good would go out of the way to say like, Amy, what you're doing is really good. I'm very entertained. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. And I think that's what you need to look for. It may, I mean, like, I do have a hard time taking criticism. Like, there's no doubt about that. But you do have to look for the sources that are going to tell you the truth. Especially if you really, really, really want to know if you've got it in you to keep going. And I think I've done a fair bit of that. So that's sort of like the thing that everybody wants to know. Why did I shift? My audience is not different. My avatar is the exact same person it's always been in my mind. The person that I have designed this channel for has been the same since Jump Street. But the people who are confused, oftentimes not the person I designed, they're confused, and so I'm explaining that now. And it doesn't matter if you're not the person in my head that I've designed for this channel. If you find it valuable, then that's it. That's end. Like, you can stay for as long as you like. But for the people who are staying and just to criticize, like, you've changed, you're different, this isn't what I wanted, like, I've only dug in deeper with who my target audience is. And if you're not that person, then we've simply grown out of each other. And that's okay. I think you have to grow out of people. I think you have to grow out of habits. I think you have to grow out of things over time. And when you learn more about someone, you decide whether they're continually right for you. And that's it. So I hope that's helpful.
Let's talk about some of those things that don't matter that people might be focused on. Like, what are some of these things, and I can guess at some of them, but like, what are some of these things that people are focusing on that really don't matter, that they shouldn't get hung up on?
Well, I would say it's a lot of vanity metric stuff, but that's natural for us to look at that because it's what
our platforms have given us to measure, right? How many followers, how many subscribers, how many views, etc. All of those things are very important. It's just that they're not the only thing of importance. And so it's very frustrating when you're at a certain point in content creation or social media at all, and you're saying that these are the reason you're successful on any level. And that's really kind of discouraging if you're publishing a video once a week or more and you're not growing that quickly, and maybe you're not growing at all, and you're thinking, oh, my content must be just not good if I don't have more subscribers or double the subscribers or double the views or whatever the case may be. I think people get too hung up on that stuff and forget to set goals for themselves that will allow them to have a more immediate return on what they do and how they share content with the world. I think that it's so difficult to put all your eggs in that basket of I have to have subscribers or views, because that at the end of the day doesn't measure dollars and cents on the exact level that most of us think that they do, especially if we don't have as much experience. Then we just make assumptions. And there's other ways to make that work for you. So I think people get really hung up on the vanity metrics, and it's really unfortunate.
What would you say to somebody out there who's doing video, doing YouTube, doing all of those things, who they hear what you and I are saying, and I've talked about objective quality. Like my thing was, I wanted to, am I keeping my word in terms of delivering on my schedule? Am I getting the number of videos out that I want? Is the editing good, or does it suck? Which is the thing, I obsess over. What if they've heard that before, but it's still not like clicking for them? What would you say to somebody out there who is getting discouraged and they are looking at those numbers and they say, I get it, but they're like 30 days in, 90 days in, 6 months in, and they just still feel like, I'm working so hard, what's the point?
I think if that's what's happening in your mind, then you're still focused on the wrong things, right? So obviously you are, because it's all you think about. But for me, when I started the channel, I directly attached success to something else. So first of all, it was consistency of what I was doing. Can I show up consistently? Because me showing up to my channel when I said I'm going to be there with the value that I promised is exactly connected to the fact of whether or not I would get business into my consultancy. Was somebody hiring me? Was somebody wanting to coach with me or get services from me in some way for social media marketing? It was directly attached to that. So I never really had time to get hung up on this whole do I have enough subscribers or views or any of those things, because I was making videos and I was getting clients. So because of that correlation, the success was there. And so for someone that's just getting started and they're 30, 60, 90 days in, if you have not directly linked your regularity of content and showing up and being consistent and presenting value with a metric that's measurable and attached to success, that's more the issue. So let's say it's not necessarily growing a business, but you would like to grow a following on YouTube. What are you actually doing to make that happen? Because we all know if you don't have subscribers, you don't have momentum. And if you don't have momentum, you're not going to be able to get much of your content out in front of people who don't know who you are. So then now we're back at the beginning with nothing going on. But if, let's say, we found an opportunity to show up in search or referred content, are you making sure that your videos are programmed and have metadata that help them achieve that? And then what are you doing to make sure that the people that you do know, even if they don't hang out on YouTube or whatever the network is, are coming there when you have something going on, so you can use their views as the momentum you need to signal to YouTube to get you some more attention? Usually the problem is the creator does not go that far. They create the content, they create the next one, they go to the next one, publish, go to the next one, publish, go to the next one, and they forget to do the marketing side. You have to market a video just like it's your product that you have for sale, because it just might be. And if you don't put that time in and you don't make that happen, it's not going to grow. You can have the best product in the world, but if no one knows about it, no one knows about it. It's just you. So I think that's what's going on in someone's head when they're just getting started. And if you're expecting the sun, the moon, and the stars after 90 days, welcome to YouTube. Maybe it was that way in 2006. One of the other things that's been on my mind is it can really look, when you look around, like you're on step one,
You get on Instagram, you get on YouTube, you get on Amy Shine Squad, whatever, you see the things, you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm on step 1. How is everyone else on step 156? Like, how do we just like get there? And you don't, because you are being gravitated toward a particular level of excellence, which is great news for you. So you see a lot of that level of excellence, and it is meant to motivate you, but it can easily be turned around as something that is disappointing to you because you're not there. But every single person that you say they're so perfect or like they're doing excellent work and you admire them for that and you're like, if only. They had a step 1 and they had a lot of steps in between, and some of them went off the path a little and some of them came back. Some of them quit. And you never even met them. Take the first step. We believe in facilitating those first steps, in not only having those first steps, but having them be like fully planted steps on the ground, not tiptoeing around in the eggshells. You know what I mean? Fully planted. What is the foundation that is going to move you forward? Something that you know you can 100% get behind when the bandwagon ain't showing up for a while. And your family's like, huh? And your friends are like, what? And nobody's liking your Instagrams. What's the foundation so you'll stick with it?